You are Locked On Syracuse, your daily podcast on the Syracuse Orange. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Syracuse football gets absolutely annihilated at Pitt tonight, 41-13. This offense, which had been so good through the first 6 games of the year, it had been so dominant. The clear strength of the team had its worst performance of the season, and it's not even close. Not even close. Once again, this defense for Syracuse football gets a 3-and-out stop on the first series of the game. And here we go. We're licking our chops, right? So what happens? What happens? Well, on Kyle McCord's first pass of the game, he nearly throws an interception, which was a precursor for what was to come. He nearly throws an interception. He was targeting Umari Hatcher down the right sideline. I believe it was Umari Hatcher, and Hatcher just wasn't open. He just wasn't open. I don't know why he was throwing to him there, but he did, and luckily it wasn't intercepted. The next play, Kyle McCord escapes a sack, and he finds Jackson Meeks for a first down. Jackson Meeks broke that tackle. Nice. You're thinking at that point, or you know what I'm thinking at that point, when Meeks breaks that tackle and gets the first down on Syracuse's first offensive possession. Man, that was Pitt's chance. Kyle McCord threw it right to him. That was their chance, and now Syracuse is going to march down the field. I was wrong. I was wrong, because then Kyle McCord decides to overthrow Oronde Gadsden on a seam route. And by the way, Oronde Gadsden got hurt and did not return. He got hurt at the end of the first half, did not return, was seen in street clothes. That's great. That's great news on top of everything that's going on right now. We got an injury to Oronde Gadsden. And then after that pass, after Syracuse starts throwing on their first 3 plays, Kyle McCord throws a pick 6. And it was entirely on him. This pick was entirely on him. He just didn't see the defender for Pitt. Credit to them for taking it to the house. It's 7-0. All right. We've seen Kyle McCord throw a pick 6 before. We've seen him throw picks before. How's he going to respond? He's responded all season long, but tonight he did not, because on the next series, on a 3rd down, on a batted ball, targeting Oronde Gadsden over the middle, he gets picked again. It was a great play by that Pitt player. But that's his 2nd interception of the game. 2 picks in the first 5 minutes. Not what I thought was going to happen. I don't want to get on McCord too much, because it wasn't all on him. I mean, he was 35 of 64, 321, 5 interceptions. I think it's safe to say that most, if not all, the interceptions were on Kyle McCord. But I don't want to beat a dead horse. We know that he was bad. We know he was bad. Let's talk about this offensive line, though. Let's talk about that offensive line. I mentioned that Pitt had the steel curtain. Well, if they had the steel curtain, then their defensive line must have been the purple people eaters. Seriously? Did you see how often Kyle McCord was pressured? I'm not going to give Kyle McCord a pass. I'm not. I am not giving him a pass. He was awful, and he proved a lot of people right who doubted him. But I'm just saying, this Syracuse offensive line didn't do him any favors either. I mean, Pitt for the game finished with 4 sacks. That's not great, but it's worse than that. I mean, I don't know how many pressures Pitt had, but it seemed like on every single drop back for Kyle McCord, there was pressure. We talked about how Syracuse is a great short passing game that could mitigate that. All you got to do is hold up for like a second or two, and Kyle McCord's going to get rid of the ball. They couldn't. They couldn't hold up at all. This offensive line, everyone. I'm not going to exonerate anyone. Atrocious. Absolutely atrocious. Kyle McCord was terrible. This offensive line was terrible. How about the pass catchers on Syracuse? Did they do Kyle McCord any favors? No. I counted 4 drops in the first half. 4 of them. And you could pick whatever one you want. Jackson Meeks had a drop down the right sideline. It was a nice back shoulder throw. And yeah, it was a tough catch for Jackson Meeks to make. It was a tough catch. But you know what? He got 2 hands on the ball. You get 2 hands on the ball, you got to catch it. You got to catch it. 2 hands on the ball. Oronde Gadsden had a drop. LeQuint Allen had a drop in the 4th quarter, but honestly, who cares? Nothing mattered after halftime anyway. Umari Hatcher had a drop. Darrell Gill had a drop. Take your pick. Whether they go in the stat sheet as drops or not, all 4 of those guys at one point in the first half had 2 hands on the football and failed to come up with the catch. And on a couple of them, they actually led to turnovers later on. Maybe the game's different if they catch the ball. I don't know. Probably not. Probably not. But you never know. This offense, I don't know what else to say about it because it had been so great through 6 games. And I didn't see this coming. I did not. Credit to my dad, at least. Or do I blame my dad because he texted me right beforehand he was feeling a stinker? And I said to him, what are you talking about? I don't think this is going to be a stinker. I think if Syracuse loses, they're going to lose close. They did not lose close, ladies and gentlemen. They lost 41-13, and it's a lot worse than the score indicated. At least Kyle McCord had over 300 yards. Hope Fran Brown is happy because clearly he has Kyle McCord on his fantasy team, considering he was still in the game late in the 4th quarter for... Look, I'll talk about it now. Kyle McCord was in this game with 5 minutes left. They're down 41-13. Now, I understand the argument of, well, you don't want to kill his confidence for next week because they still got to play next week. And we'll talk about that. We'll talk about how Syracuse can bounce back because they can. They can bounce back. But you don't want to kill his confidence. I understand that. But injuries can happen on any play in football. And we all know that. If you watch the game long enough, you know that a lot of guys are going to get hurt. And if you play football long enough, chances are not only are you going to get hurt, you're going to suffer a serious injury. You're going to blow your knee out. You're going to break a bone. You're going to dislocate something. You're going to suffer a concussion or 2, maybe 3. I don't know. You play football. It's a violent sport. It's a violent sport. And you cannot wrap players in bubble wrap and prevent injuries from happening. I understand that. But you know what's like the most brutal injuries? The most brutal injuries are when it is at a meaningless point in the game. A meaningless point. And to me, I am not willing to take that chance. As bad as Kyle McCord had played, as bad, he is still the starter for this team. There's no reason to change. You cannot switch starters for next week. There's no quarterback controversy, right? No quarterback. He's the starter. I know he was bad. He's a starter going forward. You cannot have him in the game with 5 minutes left down 28 points. I know you want to build up his confidence for next week. First of all, they didn't score on that possession. They missed a field goal from 48 yards. You're not guaranteed to score a touchdown. He could have thrown his 6th interception. You don't know what's going to happen with him in the game. And second of all, if he gets hurt in a meaningless point, did anyone see what happened to Chris Godwin of the Buccaneers? Hurt in garbage time. He's out for the season. Oh, by the way, he's going into his free agency year. That might have cost him money too. You see my point? You can't take away injuries from the game, but they could easily happen in a meaningless time, especially when you have backups in the game with Kyle McCord. And look, Yassine Willis is a backup, and he got hurt. It happens. I feel bad for Yassine Willis. Hopefully he's okay. It looked like he got his ankle rolled up. Hopefully he's all right. What if that was Kyle? He can't be in the game there, but hey, at least he got his 300 yards. He got 321 for the game.